Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the start of a new kit build, and as you can see I have a kit from my stash. I went through and had a look to see what I got and what took my fancy this time around, and I've settled on this small run batch kit for the Peckett Sons Cranmore class overall saddle tank Gamecock. So this is a kit by Stuart Brewer, who I know a little bit. I've met him once, twice, but talked backwards and forwards on forums and things as well. And in fact, I've had this kit in my stash for a while because I watched him kind of develop it to a certain extent, and my name actually appears in the acknowledgements. I didn't do very much. I read the instructions to make sure they made sense, and I believe I tweaked one of the 3D models he had that he was intending to use as a master, to use as a master for some casting. But I've not looked at this box pretty much since I got it. I opened it up, checked that it looked like everything was there, and then put it in the stash. So I can't quite remember what's in the box, but as far as I'm aware, as you can tell, it's a complete kit. So we've got etched body, chassis, all the motors, wheels, gears, etc. There are white metal and lost brass casting detail parts. I think there are some 3D printed parts. It says there are. I can't remember what they were going to be. I know a lot of the 3D printed parts became brass instead. In fact, I think he might have done two versions of the kit. One where more of the parts were brass, and one where there were some 3D printed parts. I have a feeling I got the one with the more brass because A, I was willing to spend the money, and B, he kept one aside from me, having looked through the instructions and things for him. So let's open it. Well, let's start by the lovely illustration on the front. This is done from a photo of the real thing being delivered, but you can tell we're looking at a tiny little steam loco, as I say, an 040 saddle tank, kind of exactly my kind of small model that I like to build. A bit bigger, the prototype, than the last model I built, the 18-inch gauge works loco. Although I have a feeling that the model that I build, because it's in 4mm to the foot instead of 7mm to the foot, will be a lot smaller, even though it's running on the same track. It's running on 9mm gauge track. So without any further ado, let's open the box, see what's in there, and see what I've set myself up to build. Now, the first thing that I remember is the instructions are on this thing. So this is one of these tiny little CDs. Some of you may never even seen one this small, but these are tiny. And fortunately, although my laptop doesn't have a CD drive, I do have a CD drive in the main PC I have here. It's old. It's been built over a long period of time with lots of bits of kit in it. I am a software engineer after all, so I can read this, so that's good. So I will get the instructions off. In fact, I think I've already got a copy of the instructions somewhere off the CD from when it first arrived, but if not, I will get them off and have the instructions. So let's have a look. So we have, so there are some, by the looks of it, 3D printed parts. I think these are the cylinders by the looks of it. We'll have to see. But as you can tell, lots and lots of lost white metal cast parts, and some lovely lost wax brass parts as well. So I can see a dome in there. I can see potentially, is that the smoke box door? Yes, so that was one of the parts. The smoke box door was one of the parts that I had to I tweaked the 3D model for him. There was issues. We wanted to thicken it up around the edge so that it would definitely survive the casting process. So yeah, so that's that. We then have a nice bag of all mechanical parts. So we've got motor, we've got pickup strip, gears, wheels, bearings, yeah, rubber bands. So it's the mechanical parts work very similar to my little 009 Hudson Hunsler. I'll put a link up here to the finished video if I can remember. But basically there's a motor with a small bearing on it, or sorry, a small pulley with an elastic band, a rubber band essentially, that comes down to a bigger pulley that drives a lace shaft through the model. That has two worm gears on it, and they drive both axles. So that means both axles of the model, I assume, are driven. There are 2 worm gears, if you can see those are through the packet, so I assume both axles are driven, which means that the the coupling rods and stuff will move nicely. I don't have to worry about the actual coupling rods between the 2 sets of wheels driving the second set of wheel. Both sets of wheels will be driven, so that's a nice thing. And then if I get them out of the bottom, folded up as well, there's some wire. That'll be for detailing things like cab handrails and things like that. And then in here should be lots and lots of lovely, oh there we go, look, lovely etches. So we have, so this is the overlays for the boiler, not the boiler, the saddle tank. So you can see these are the parts of the saddle tank. I believe that's the front of the saddle tank. Possibly the front of the boiler, ready to take the door. I'll have to have a look exactly what goes on where. This is the majority of the outside of what you'll see on the loco. So you've got the cab, some overlays. So often I think this takes the same approach as some of Stuart's other kits, where you will fold up the cab and then apply overlays over the top to get the extra detail. That means that you can you don't end up with, you know, wanting to etch detail and etch folds from the other side, which you can't necessarily do properly. So that looks up to the same standard as things I've seen on Stuart's kits before. I did a tiny little another 009 model. I can't remember what it was called now, but I'll put the link up here if I can find it. There's a tiny little one. It uses one of those weird Japanese tiny little chassis. It was used at a sleeper depot, and yeah, again he had lovely white metal castings and overlays in that kit, and that will work perfectly. And here you can see the chassis, well the footplate, sorry, that will all fold down nicely. And then we have another etch, and this etch will be is pretty much nearly all the mechanical parts. So you can see along the bottom here we have the main frames of the loco. So these are the 2 axle holes here and here, so that folds up. You see the fold lines. Some overlays again to give detail. Then we have, this is all motor mount, so these need to be, I believe, laminated together to hold the motor in place. Spacer washers, coupling rods, these are probably need to be folded over and possibly folded and laminated, I'm not sure. Oh no, coupling rods and piston rods, I guess they're not laminated on this one. And then yeah, so these here, these I've seen, I saw Stuart developing these on the original kit. So what you have is you essentially have, and he used the same approach on the detailing kit for Tally Lin as well, where what you have essentially is this outside frame, and you can see it's got holes in the corners of each of the frames. So you line up the 4 frames, cocktail sticks through the holes, which keeps everything aligned, and then you solder them together, essentially laminate all the frames, which gives nice proper thickness to the crank pins, without the cranks, without having to try and align each one individually. You're aligning the whole frame, which is really nice. And then yes, some more details. So you got cylinder covers. I'm not quite sure what those are, but we'll find out, I'm sure. More etched, more detail overlays. So I think they'll go behind these holes, I think, on the frames. But yeah, it looks like a lovely kit, and there's some nice extra details in these frames as well. So you can see there are some cutouts here. If I put it against the white, is it any better? Not really. So these are alignment jigs. So this one is for the wheels and the gear on the middle of the wheel and the axle, and then this one is the lay shaft. So you can see that's the length of the lay shaft plus the 2 worm gears. So that helps you align everything as you set it all up, so that there's no guessing as to exactly how long these things, what you need to, how you need to align them. You're not measuring or guessing that you've got the thing in the middle. You can easily check. which is all really, really nice. And as I say, I've seen, I watched Stuart. He reported on the design of this kit on one of the forums, and as I say, we emailed backwards and forwards separately. So I know that this went through a number of rounds of testing and test etches and stuff to get to this place. So to this point, so yeah, really looking forward to this one. As I say, it's been in my stash for years now, probably 8 years maybe. I'll have to check exactly when it came out, but I think it predates my eldest son being born, and he's 8. So yeah, it's been in the stash a while. But I didn't want to rush into it, and I think I now have the skills to do it justice. In the past, when I've built etched kits, I've often done things like super gluing on the overlays because I didn't have the confidence to do it. But I've had some experimentation with new tools. I mean, I've got the new the soldering iron that I've reviewed. I'll stick a link to that here somewhere, which allows me a lot finer control over temperature than the old one I had. And I've got some other tools which I'm going to be making use of when I build this kit, that again I think should help me build it properly, rather than having to resort to glue in some places, or to just make a mess with solder. I've in the past I've tried soldering things and made an awful mess with globs of solder everywhere that are a pain to clean up, but I'm confident that I'm going to be better at it than I have in the past, but we shall see. That's a fingers crossed. But if you don't want to miss the build, and here's just a reminder of what we're building, this lovely looking little logo here, then don't forget the subscribe button should be here, and hopefully I will have made a start on something by the next video. I believe setting up the wheels and folding up the chassis is the first thing. But I need to double check the instructions. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully with some progress.